On behalf of the employees, citizens, and business owners, I would like to welcome you to the best city in which to live, work, and play. Today's event is hosted in celebration of Black History Month. In keeping with that, today's theme is Stronger Together, a City on the Rise. Now, this has different meanings for different communities. However, for Riviera Beach, it means our community as a whole thrives when we work together. When parents work together with teachers, students are successful. When churches work together with their community, the city is more resilient during times of adversities. When residents work together with the police department, the city is safer. When business owners work together with their government, economic growth occurs. As your city manager, I am working to enhance these relationships with the intentions of making Riviera Beach stronger. It is my belief that the best days for Riviera Beach are ahead of us. If we work together to ensure that this happens, during the process of working together, we will become stronger. Again, thank you for being with us this morning. Please stand and join me in a round of applause as we work to become stronger while rising from being the best waterfront city to the greatest waterfront city. Thank you. You may be seated.
And at this time, for the recognition of our elected officials and others that are in the room, none other than Councilwoman Tanya Davis Johnson, City of Riviera Beach.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? On behalf of the Mayor and City Council, I'd like to welcome you to this Call to Action breakfast. It is my pleasure to recognize our elected officials. Formally in the room, well, I still see him. Let's first recognize our wonderful hostess, Councilwoman Lynn Hubbard. Also joining us this morning is Councilman Terrence Davis. I would like to recognize, she was in the room, but we will still call her name, yes, Dr. Deborah Robinson from the school district. Still seated and joining us is Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson, City of Westlake. I'd also like to recognize Commissioner Shannon Materio, City of West Palm Beach. Also joining us a little while ago was Mr. Michael Carter, representing the office of Commissioner Mac Bernard. Are there any other electeds that I may have missed? Miss Betty Wells raised her hand. That's right, you do have our key. I'd like to also take this opportunity now to acknowledge any candidates that are in the room, if you would like to stand. So thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we will continue on in our program.
Well, let everybody take a deep breath and Chef Richard is still working back there. And is there any food left, Chef? That's it? Lord have mercy. Good food, good eating. As we continue with our program, it is a privilege, it is an honor. I am excited, I'm humbled to have the opportunity to bring to the podium this next individual. I count her among my friends. She is a tough taskmaster. She is a no-nonsense individual. She is an individual that you just simply can't say no to. As hard as I've tried to say no, you can't. Because her passion for this community is contagious. She is the Sojourner Truth, the Harriet Tubman, the Rosa Parks of the city of Riviera Beach. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Councilwoman Lynn Hubbard.
Thank you all. Thank you so very much. It is indeed an honor to have each and every one of you here today. This is a very important occasion for me, not just this event, but the fact that we're celebrating Black History Month. That we have such a rich history and a rich culture, and we shouldn't let anybody minimize it or take it for granted. We need to know our own story, so therefore we can tell our own story. Define ourselves by who we know us to be, not by what somebody else say that we are. And I think that these times, these occasions, allow us to pause and take a deep breath and look at ourselves. Please take the time when you get a chance to read The Truth of the Matter. That's my statement to you, the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is that we're great. We have a great city with a lot of resources, and everybody want to be us. So a lot of people want to make us think that we have nothing, it's worth nothing, and that we should give it to them, and then they'll tell us which part of it we can have or what we ought to do with it. So if we understand what we have, we won't be bamboozled by the three-card Molly while we're trying to take our eye off the prize. So another true soldier that's true to the cause. We're honored. I'm humbled by the fact that she accepted the call to come here to be with us, to share a word with us, to give us a true call to action here in the city of Riviera Beach. Everybody all over the country know we are a city on the rise. And we have to say that, and we have to let people know that. Just because someone whispers to you that we're in turmoil doesn't make it true. We are a city on the rise. She's committed to advocating for progressive ideals and values over a vocation she views as bigger than political affiliation. Most recently, a national surrogate for Senator Bernie Sanders during the turbulent 2016 Democratic presidential primary. Nina Turner is an insightful advocate and agent for social change. Today, she serves as president of Our Revolution, an organization that Sanders created to revitalize American democracy and empower progressive leaders and elevate political consciousness. When she served in the Ohio State Senate, Turner was known as a fierce advocate, garnering recognition and praise from elected leaders across the political aisle. She has maintained that uncanny ability to both unite opposing viewpoints and challenge political leaders to use their highest selves. Her political experience as an elected member of the Cleveland City Council and a strategic leader of the Ohio Democratic Party affords her a unique understanding of government process. Politico named her one of 18 most powerful women to watch, and that she is. I had the pleasure of hearing her speak on healthcare on yesterday. I first met Senator Turner and her communication director, Teslin Figueroa, who is our own strategic communication specialist. That's our scandal right there. You got a scandal? Call her up. Not a scandal, but a problem. She's a problem solver. She's a problem solver. Senator Turner is a true soldier, and for me, a true soldier means somebody who gets it, who understands us and our challenges, and who will fight for us, period, across the board. She fights for issues, and she has been able to challenge issues on both sides of the aisle. Let us welcome at this time none other than Senator Nina Turner.
Good morning. Let me check my watch. Yes, good morning. It's still morning. Man, I want to thank the council lady for that wonderful introduction, and she is a true soldier. I heard the chief name all of the many sheroes that have come before us, the reason why we can be here today to celebrate our history. You know, right before the program started, my brother called me because I got a little history here. About 5 brief years of my life, my mother moved us from Cleveland, Ohio, where I was born and raised and have lived all of my life, except for 5 brief years. For 5 brief years, I lived in Boynton Beach, Florida. So I got a little connection. I'm going to claim that connection. I got the receipts, Teslin Figueroa. I got the receipts. But no, I just want to say of the council lady, her vision to put something together like this in a beautiful location. You all are so blessed to be able to look across the water and, you know, listening to the chief give a little bit of the history about how African Americans were moved out, pushed out, and here you are today in Riviera Beach. And then the council lady having, in the truth of the matter, really laying out why it's so important for you to protect what you love. And it is to protect what you love from a spiritual, mental, and physical positioning. And so it is so important that as African American folks, those folks that Zerl Neale Hurston said, our skin has been kissed by the sun. Come on now, it's a whole bunch of folks who want their skin kissed by the sun. Lord have mercy. But we are those people, and it is important that we protect our assets and that we are not hoodwinked or bamboozled, as the council lady said, that we got to make sure. And land is important. This country was founded on the right of land. And the fact that in Sherman, General Sherman, don't get me started on the history with the 40 acres and the mule, never came to fruition for the vast majority of African Americans because the government said they were going to do it, then they took it back. So it is important that you protect this space, not just for yourselves, but for future generations, for the Jadens of the world. You know, I got a chance to talk to young Jaden. And I asked Jay, I said, Jaden, what do you want to be when you grow up? He said, I want to be mayor. Can we say amen to that? Amen. We support that dream. I told Jaden I want him to dream big. And we should pour that into our children. So I just came by to bring you a few words. I just stopped by to say a word or two about the history of the folks whose skin have been kissed by the sun. And we cannot celebrate enough. Another thing my brother said to me this morning, he said, why is it only February? Black history is all 12 of those months. I said, amen to that. But from a historical perspective, we know that the Dr. Carter G. Woodson, he picked the month of February because Frederick Douglass was born in this month, and also President Abraham Lincoln. So this is why he picked February. Now, being an Ohio girl, February don't work so well because it's cold still. But here in Florida, it works mighty fine. But it is important. And what Dr. Carter G. Woodson did was to help African-American folks understand their relevance to the history, not only of this country, but the history of the world. And sometimes folks try to make you forget. But lest we forget that this country, as great and challenged as it is, because it is both. It is the yin and the yang. We got to take the bitter with the sweet. But it wouldn't be what it is today without those folks whose skin has been kissed by the sun. We built this country. Blood, sweat, and tears. We built this country. And I said last night, as the councilwoman knows, and I was before an audience that had nothing to do with Black History Month, but I had to bring them word that this is February. And it is Black History Month. But to let them know, the fact of the matter is that the chattel slavery that occurred in this country still ruminates to this day. And it is in the system, it is in the DNA of America. Unless we forget, we cannot forget if nobody else remembers. We need to remember. There's a song that talks about how I got over. My soul looks back and wonders how I got over. We got over by the blood, no doubt, and the sweat and the tears of folks who dreamed bigger dreams, who had the vision that we could be assembled in Riviera Beach today, lakefront, riverfront, oceanfront property. That we have ancestors who planted trees and never got a chance to lay out in the shade. Can I get an amen? Those are the people that we come from. And so we ought to be excited every time our alarm clock goes off and we are blessed to put 1 foot, 2 foot on the floor and say, thank you, thank you. And although we have our own set of 21st century challenges, we don't know family sold on the block type challenges, people separated from one another type challenges. We do have 21st century version, but we don't have 17th century, 16th century, 18th century version of the struggle. And so we ought to give thank you. I try to call out the ancestors every day. I try to remember somebody along this journey, whether it's somebody famous that you know or somebody in your bloodline. We ought to say thank you to those folks, because they paid a debt that we'll never, ever, ever, ever be able to repay. But as a people, we ought to put a down payment on the debt. And the way we put a down payment on the debt is making sure that we protect what we love. And that is our children first and foremost. Protect what we love. The young Jadens of the world, and making sure that they get the best education that they can so that they can compete and also live in a world where it's not just about the children who live in Riviera Beach. It's not just about the children who live in Cleveland, Ohio. It's not just about the children who live in Tyler, Texas. It's not just about the children who live in Delray Beach, Florida. It is about the children who live in other parts of this world. Our young people have to compete against other folks' children in the world. The world is a lot smaller. We are citizens of the United States of America, but baby, we are citizens of the world. And what do we owe to our children? Protect what we love. And to make sure that we leave this world a better place. That's where we hail from. Those are the kind of people that we are. You know, I was talking to Figaro, about progressivism, and, I'm not going to bring that into this conversation, but I often say that Black folks are the original progressives. When folks ask me how to define progressivism, I talk about the liberation struggle. That is the original progressivism in this country, that Black folks fought generation after generation to be liberated and to be treated as equals in a country that refused to acknowledge our humanity. And even today, we are still fighting that fight. It might be a different kind of fight, but it is still a fight nevertheless, because we're talking about systems that oppress. So I was reading an article that said that it will take about 228 years for Black folks to catch up with the wealth of the average white family. Now, I don't know about you, but I ain't got 228 years. Now, I got some time on the books, but I ain't got 228. And they went on to say that if we keep the current course, It will take 228 years. I want you to wrap your mind around that. That is not just about some individual not liking us because of the color of our skin. This is about systems of oppression. And so we need to understand the difference between prejudice and bias and institutional racism. The struggle is real. 228 years. So we got to protect what we love, and we must have heart-soul agreement. Now, the councilwoman said this is a call to action. I heard other speakers come up here and say this is a call to action. This is not just about the choir getting together and lifting one another up. It's all about what you're going to do. Scripture said faith without works is dead. And so we got to get to work. And so whatever brought you here this morning, if it is a recognition of how far we have come as a people and how much further we have to go, we got to carry those things. And it is not enough for us to just talk about how great our foremothers were and our forefathers were and how great some of the people who are even in this room, the generation, the boomer generation, the baby boomer generation that had to go through so much to even get us to the civil rights generation. We can celebrate that. We need to talk about that. We need to remember that. But the question becomes, what are we going to do for the cause? What are people going to say about you when it's all said and done? About what you did for the cause. And the greatest way for us to honor our ancestors is to continue to work to create an environment that is good. So it reminded me of Micah 6:8, one of my favorite scriptures in the Bible. I hope you don't mind if I just live this out just a little bit. I just got to go there because I am feeling that. But in that scripture, the question is, what does the Lord require of you? Of you, of you, of you, of me. What does the Lord require of us? To act justly. And what does that mean? It means many things. It means taking care of our communities. It means standing up for what is right. It means not just going along to get along. It means black folks, stop giving away your votes to folks who don't stand up for your issues. Act justly. It means understanding, Councilwoman Hubbard, that we's free. We ain't got to ask folks permission to have a thought. Sometimes we forget that, and the pressure is on. I know the heat is on. It should be on, but we should be the ones putting the heat on folks. How is it that in the 21st century, that in these United States of America, we still have not had a black woman serve as governor of any state in this country? I want you to feel that for me. Meanwhile, we got a party, the Democratic Party, that continues to pat black women on the head and on the back and talk about how we the heart and soul of the party, yet we can't get just even one. Just one African-American woman elected. I don't want you to tell me about in Alabama how black women came through for the party. What I want to hear the party say is how you going to come through for us. We are free. And we can have a thought. And we can challenge systems to act justly. And those of us who do come from the Christian tradition, because some of us may be Muslim, some of us may be Buddhist, some of us might be of no religion at all, and that's okay too. But I'm just talking to you from the Christian Bible to act justly. And those of us who do believe in Jesus Christ knows that Christ was a revolutionary. He came and he shook it all up. He talked to the Sadducees and the Pharisees. He went against the establishment. And every single one of our ancestors that fought for freedom and justice did not go along with the system, because sisters and brothers, had they went along with the system, we would still be in shackles and chains today. What does the Lord require of us? To stand up, to speak up, not to shrink. We have nothing to shrink for. And the reason why I bring up the Democratic Party, and it's not that we should let the Republican Party off the hook. No, sir, no, ma'am. We should not let them off the hook. But I'm talking about the party that enjoys the lion's share of the black vote. Meanwhile, our babies are not educated to the level that they should be educated. They get the lion's share of our vote, yet too many of our people are still living in poverty 228 years. And then our sisters and brothers in Flint still don't have the infrastructure that they need to turn on their faucets and have clean water. We are free. So I just came to bring you word, to reaffirm that. If you did not know, I want you to know it now. That we have to challenge systems. And not just for ourselves, but for the Jadens of the world. I do want to leave this world better for my son and hopefully future grandchildren. All of us are selfish in that way, and that's okay. That if you are ready to use your life force to make this world a better place, yes, it will be uncomfortable, but we must challenge the system in the same way that our ancestors challenged the system. What is going on here is unacceptable. And this is not just about Mr. Trump. Can I just say that institutional racism existed long before that man got in the White House. It will be there after he leaves the White House. What are we going to challenge folks to do for us? And while we must call out policies that are antithesis to what we stand for as Americans, or at least what we aspire to stand for as Americans, yes, we must call it out. No, we are not going back to a colored water fountain and a white water fountain. We refuse to go that far back, but howsoever, while we just totally fixated on Mr. Trump, who has been very clear about who he is and what he is, other folks get off. Because see, they ain't got to do nothing because they got you distracted with him. That's all this sister is saying. We're going to watch them all. We can watch him and watch you. We're going to make some demands on him and we're going to make some demands on you. So what does the Lord require of us? You can just say, ouch, this hurts a little bit, but I just bring you word that we are free. To love mercy is the next part of that, within that scripture. To love mercy. Our very humanity is being challenged. It's in our face like it never has been before in the 21st century. We're seeing things that we have never seen before in the 21st century. But if you talk to some of our elders, I'm sure that they can tell you stories of some things that are kind of similar to what we're going through. Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun. But the reason why we must love mercy is because he or she without sin cast the first stone. And we got politicians that are setting us up to hate one another and to fight within the family and outside the family, and then to treat other folks like they are less than us. God created everybody as equal. Now, we do have some folks, and I'm not talking about overt racism. If somebody is overtly a racist, we must challenge that, no doubt about it. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm not just worried about those folks who I know who are overtly racist. I'm worried about the folks who are covertly racist. I'm not just worried about the folks. I'm worried about the folks who wear the blue suit over the white sheet. That's who I'm worried about. And what kind of policies are they pushing? Why they keeping us fixated on a steady diet of Trump, 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 Trump. Meanwhile, the truth of the matter that the councilwoman has put here, the truth of the matter that some folks are plotting to take your land and move you out and do all kinds of things. The truth of the matter that the Flint water crisis was going on long before that brother even took office. The truth of the matter is 228 years to catch up. And violence. And as I said yesterday, with tears welling up in my eyes, what happened to those, not only those high school students, but also their teachers and to that entire community, that to live in a country that's so morally bankrupt that they would allow the NRA to own them just flat out. They got to go. And in order to get rid of those folks in Congress, that means that we're going to have some conversations with some folks that's on the other side. Because we got to unite based on what we have in common. And hopefully it is the love for humanity, to love mercy. This is my humanity. When the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said that darkness cannot do away with darkness, or he said darkness can't drive out darkness, only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. See, love is fierce. And so sometimes we got to check ourselves, because even if we may be right on the issues, there's a way to deal with people. You don't talk down to them. You don't call them names. You don't think that our ideas are better than their ideas. Even if you do believe that you have the right idea, we have to first seek to understand and then to be understood. Stephen Covey said that. And in everything that we do, we must do that. But sisters and brothers whose skin has been kissed by the sun, can we just start with loving one another? We are more critical on each other than we are on anybody else. To love mercy. My grandmother used to always tell me other folks' water ain't no colder than ours. But we act like it is. And we hold each other we should hold each other accountable, don't get me wrong, but we hold each other to even more higher standards. We will have more mercy on other folks than we do on ourselves. It's something wrong with that. So now if we're going to hold ourselves accountable, we got to start holding other folks accountable too, because the only way that we're going to get over is together. So this is a call to action. What does the Lord require of us? And then to walk humbly with our God. To be humble is a beautiful thing. To not think that the whole world is wrapped around us and our thoughts and how we feel and what we do. We are only part of a greater whole. We make the whole. And what we do does matter, and how we think matters. How we put ourselves and reflect out into the world matters. What we stand for matters. Who we love matters. What we're willing to fight for. All of that does matter. And so we can't get so caught up in other folks' political fights that we lose sight of who we are, what we are aspiring to be, and what we are, what I believe, duty-bound to leave this world a better place. If don't nobody else want to do it, we have to do it because of our history in this country. We do have a moral obligation. And I say that to you as somebody who does understand. And Langston Hughes, is one of his poems, Mother to Son, Life and Baby. Christmas. You know, we all have stories because we are human beings, and all human beings have a story. This is how we connect. We connect to one another's story. So if I could just testify, we're going to do something a little early today. We're going to testify that for me, life ain't been no crystal stair. And so folks do have these fancy titles, and titles are good, they're good. And I mean they're good, because they get your phone calls returned, they get you in the room. I've been in many rooms because I got a fancy title, but I don't get caught up and forget why I'm in the room. Some people got a title, once they get there, they don't forget why they're being entertained. So we need purpose, so titles are good, but purpose is better. Yes. And we need more purpose-driven folks. And it doesn't have to be an elected office to be purpose-driven. We need folks purpose-driven in every aspect, every profession, to know why you are in the room. I had one of my mentors say to me, Turner, it should matter that you're in the room. And that's my message to you today, that it should matter that you're in the room. Whatever room you are in, it should matter that you are there. Folks need to know that you were there. Yes. And we can do it in love. We can dress folks down in love. We can be firm in love, as long as we don't forget other people's humanity. So for me, when I was a sophomore at a college in Cleveland called Cuyahoga Community College is where I started. Studies show that when most African Americans go attend a community college, you increase the likelihood they'll go all the way to get that 4-year degree. And my job was, I was trying so hard to become a cycle breaker. Got some news, and this was before you could text people a message, just leave a good old note on the refrigerator door. I got home from school, a note on the refrigerator, directed my husband and I to go to the hospital because my mother was there. And I didn't think anything of it because my mother had a history of high blood pressure. I didn't know that day was going to be a game changer. It's going to be a defining moment for me and my 6 siblings. I am the oldest of 7 children. I got to that hospital. Everybody was crying. They were already there. My brother, who was 6 feet 5 inches tall, I had not seen him cry since he was a little boy. Everybody was crying. And my heart was heavy as I was trying to keep my emotions in check and to stop the tears from streaming down my face. The doctor came into the room where we were. She said, "Family, I hate to inform you, but your mother is in a coma." And I asked the doctor, can I go to the room? Because I wanted to see the woman who had birthed 7 children in the world, who got married to my father very young. They got married as teenagers and it just didn't work out. So I grew up the majority of my life in a single mother household. When I got to that room, sisters and brothers, I was not prepared for what I was to see. My mother laying there in a coma with her eyes rolled to the back of her head, her tongue hanging out of the left side of her mouth, and I could no longer contain my emotion as the tears started to stream down my face. I started to have a flashback to a mother who worked hard, a mother who was a married woman, a mother whose life didn't just go according to plan, a mother who grew up in a solidly middle-class household. My grandparents were middle class, and my mother was the only child. She didn't grow up to be anything that she wanted to be. But how many of us know that everybody doesn't run the race at the same pace, and everything that we feel might not be there? I had a flashback about a mother who would cry herself to sleep at night because she couldn't buy 7 children all the ladies' gadgets and designer clothing. I thought about a mother who sacrificed. When the doctor informed me a week or so later that my mother was not coming out of that coma, and that only the machine that was by her bed was the only thing keeping her alive, and that she couldn't stay hooked up to that machine forever. At the age of 22 years old, I had to decide to pull the plug on my mother. She was 42 years old, 7 children. I am the oldest. I'm 22. I am married. My husband and I, we have a son, and we have 6 other folks. My baby sister was 20. But I prayed to the God of this universe, and I said, Lord, if you have mercy on my soul, I will become a cycle breaker for my mother's memory in every single degree. My mother never lived to see degree after degree after degree, and taking oaths of office and being blessed to serve and to counsel and to travel and to do all of the great things that I am doing right now. But every move that I make, I do it in my mother's memory. And I do believe that she's in heaven saying, you go for her and keep speaking of it. Mothers and fathers like her and people who need to make sure that this other poem that Langston Hughes wrote, that what happens to a dream deferred. See, I am working to make sure that we minimize the number of people who ever have to ask the question, what happens to a dream deferred? That is why who our ancestors are, who they were, and who our leaders and legacy folks who are alive right now today, all of them matter, but what we are going to do for the cause matters even more, because who's going to stand up and talk about how we did what we had to do to make this world a better place? And that means that we must be willing to challenge some things. So more than being a Democrat or attached to a political party, I declare that I am a hell-raising humanitarian. That is what I do. And in the very spirit of Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm, unbought and unbossed. We can do that. We got permission now. I want you to know, I bring you word. We are free. Turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, I am free. Be free. Now, anytime you feel pressured by some folks to do something that you would ordinarily do, I want you to remember those words. You are free. You are free. We can speak our mind, and we can have a thought, an original thought, and we can challenge the system. And we can demand some stuff from folks who always hold our folks and telling us how much they love us. You know, the black women sure delivered in Alabama. But who's going to deliver for us? That's all I'm asking. And then they want to separate us from black men. You know, in that particular race, black women were about 96, 97%. Brothers wasn't far behind. It's like 92%, 93%. No, black folks did that in Alabama. And we show up all the time fighting against bigotry and injustice. That's what we do. But now we must demand some stuff, and not just in Alabama, right here in Riviera Beach, you must demand some stuff in the state of Florida. Now we got the Second Chance Initiative, I understand, Vice Mayor, is that true? The Second Chance Initiative right now is going to be on the ballot, and that must pass. And if ain't nobody else standing up, fighting for that, knocking on doors, getting people to vote for that, black folks better be out there doing it, because we are impacting the vote. Brothers, them progressives, them liberal folks out there collecting signatures and knocking on doors and campaigning the last time I was here. They were out there doing the thing. And that's not to say that we best get out there and do it. Over 2.2 million folks in prison, the hands, one to reach forward and one to reach back, lifting as we climb. Now we are our sisters and our brothers' keepers. And nobody says when they grow up that they want to be poor. Everybody has a dream. But sometimes life gets in the way. And if it's okay to give out corporate welfare, not bad enough. Bail out Wall Street, not bad enough. Spend billions and billions of dollars on prisons. Just think if we would invest some of that same money in educating folks. We'd be a lot better off. We keep the worst of the worst locked up and give some other folks some second chances, not just in terms of voting, the drug addiction, the crises that we have right now in this country. We had during the crack cocaine era, but now America has a clue, and so we're going to deal with the opioid addiction. We got to demand something. So two hands, one to reach forward and one to reach back. I'm trying to, see, I slip back and start preaching the whole sermon all over again. Number two, and most important, we can't ask other folks to do more for us than we are willing to do more. And Brother Frederick Douglass put it this way. He said, you might not get everything that you work for, but you will work for everything that you get. We know this, and this is our struggle. And it is going to take the rainbow mosaic of humanity. That's why I'm saying don't let folks, political folks especially, have us falling out with folks who don't necessarily agree with us. We have to seek first to understand and then to be understood. Can we reason one with another? And even if we leave out of the room and you still don't agree with me, at least we reason one with another. That is it. See, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and all of his contemporaries, we would not have been able to have a Civil Rights Act if he was not willing to reason together with some folks. Doesn't mean that everybody agreed, doesn't mean that everybody got what they wanted. And you know, and while we just even think about it, folks on MLK Day, and we should be proud of that day, fought like heaven to get that day, but folks don't understand the history of the radical king, that when the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King left this earth, he was not one of the most loved men here. Gallup poll did a poll, he only had about a 32% approval rate. Riddle me that. You know why he did it? Because he fought against the establishment. And right before he was assassinated, the Poor People's Movement he was launching, of black and brown and white poor folks together, standing up in a country that is unjust when it comes to economics for poor people. And he was against the Vietnam War. I want you to understand who the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was and what his legacy is. And then Brother Malcolm X, we just allow people, we don't even want to say his name hardly, because mainstream society. All of our heroes and our sheroes deserve to be acknowledged for what they did for the cause. And so now, lastly, in the words of my grandmother, now our grandmother was born in 1913. She couldn't read or write, but sisters, she could count her money. She kept that money in the purse. In the purse. That's right. But she had what we call in the African American community motherwit. One of the smartest women I have ever known. When I asked my grandmother what does it take to be successful in life, she said, my dear granddaughter, all you need are the three bones. The wishbone, the jawbone, and the backbone. She said the wishbone will keep you hoping and praying because hope is the motivator, but the drinking is the driver. The reason why we're here today, the reason why we recognize, the reason why we strategize, the reason why we understand that we got to be up, look up, lift up, is because we hope and pray that tomorrow will be better than today. Yeah, that's right. She said the jawbone will give you courage to speak truth, the power to lift your voice, to not sit idly by. You know, when we go through the airport, they say, if you see something, say something. I say, if you see something, say something, and then do something. Yeah. That's what that jawbone was for. But the most important bone of them all, she said, the super king.
we're going to go through some stuff, but we can't have a testimony without a test. And we are being tested as to whether or not we got courage enough and conviction enough to do what is right, even if it's uncomfortable. A willingness to stand, yes, strong together. A willingness to speak up, yes, together. A willingness to dream and wish for a world and hope and put some faith and some works on it that is better than how we received it. Our legacy is to make sure that we leave this world better than how we found it. And as Sister Figaro said, she said, I want to enjoy some of it though for myself. I got to enjoy a little bit of it. I want to enjoy a little bit of it while I'm here. And that is so vitally important. So I just came out to give you a word to speak life into you, to speak truth into you, that the people whose skin have been kissed by the sun, that we are, yes, more obligated than anybody else, but that we are all that. We are all that. That God has blessed us and positioned us. And for generations, we have been the moral consciousness of this nation. And it doesn't make us perfect, but we are the moral consciousness of this nation. And we do have an obligation to work while it's day.
Yes.
And to do better, to demand better, and to be better. That is our obligation. And to work with brown and white folks, to work collectively, to work for humanity, to work with humanity, to be better. Because our mission is so high, we can't get over it. And our mission is so low, we can't get under it. And our mission is so wide, we can't get around it. Every direction you turn, your mission is there. Every direction you turn, Fannie Lou Hamer is there. Every time you turn, Sojourner Truth is there. Every time you turn, Booker T. Washington is there. Every time you turn, Malcolm X is there. Every time you turn, T. Thomas Horton is there. Every time you turn, Daisy Bates is there. Every time you turn, Ella Baker is there. We can't get over it, can't get under it, can't get around it. So yes, we are stronger together. But we must use our life force for good. And to recognize that love is the fiercest of them all. God bless you, Riviera. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator. I guess your check is in the mail. Until that check comes, we have a small token of appreciation for your being here with us and sharing all of that wisdom. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. Black History Month and a lesson. Thank you. At this time, Councilwoman, ladies and gentlemen, Councilwoman Lynn Pike.
That's where I go to get my energy and to remind myself I'm not completely crazy. Them down in Fort Lauderdale. I'm at this train and I want to be an elected official. I got so much I want to say, but I want to be politically correct because I don't want to embarrass my family by saying the wrong things. I'm standing up there, they gonna be presenting. Next thing I don't know, took my arms around. She said, "You got something in you to say."
to what is going on in the city of Riviera Beach. And we have to do things that are uncomfortable in order to fight for what's ours and to keep what's ours. And we cannot be bamboozled.
That's right.
I thank you, Senator Turner, for coming. We really appreciate it. I want to take this time out to thank our city manager for being on our program. My friend, Citizen Clarence Williams, retired 8 feet for being the mayor. We will not be taking any of his citizen requests. We have to be out of office for a year before we take any complaints from him. I want to thank my family. They're all blended in here. Lady Marge, our building official, for being on the program. I want to thank all of you for coming. That's the commandant. She wants to claim that she's a slave, but she's the boss at one. I saw another one of my sisters somewhere else. The other ones were here. It's 8 of us, so what good is it to have 8 family members and you can't put them to work? I want to thank the OES family over here. I want to thank Dorothy, my right hand, her and Jackie. Dorothy like to say, if you need me, knowing she's going to come and back me up anyway all the time, every time. So, I want to, Mr. Drayton, who always encourages us. And Mr. James Drayton, he's down from Atlanta, giving us his continued support, encouraging us to stay in the game, to stay in the fight, to stay in the struggle. And right now we're trying to get Sophia Nelson, Jackie Ramley, who are great program, and Jackie Ramley, Sophia Nelson. They have to coordinate this, bring this all together. So we definitely want to thank them. We want to thank our Democrat family for being here, for being Democrats, Black Democrats. And Tara Porter, the photographer for the Democrats, she's always here with us. My 2 little friends over here, the photographers. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out, and Councilwoman Tanya Davis Johnson, she don't like getting up too early when she don't have to. But I want to thank her for thanking enough of us to get on up. And he gets up that early every day anyway. And Ms. Betty Wells has been given the key to our city, so she go where she want to do what she wants. When she did good and right. So, that's how that goes. So, I want to thank each and every one of you. And this is my plate family, the Marches over here. We's cousins. And we thank the councilwoman from West